What's up, guys? It's your girl Matt Cox from MA Couture Crafting. I am your quilty BFF, and today we're doing something a little different. We're hanging out on the Five Little Monkeys channel. We're going to do some coasters today. I wanted to be sure to give you guys a project that was fun, fast, kind of funky, and giftable. The holiday seasons are coming up, and you might want to decorate your table, decorate your space, or gift these. So let's get into it. So the pattern that we're going to be working with is called Coaster Ride, and these silicone coasters come with the kit, and they're super duper thin so that you can sew through them, but they're still silicone. You can actually wash these hold up really well, but you want to be sure to steam your fabric so that it's all shrunken up before you start using it. I am going to start cutting the bias strips for the first part of this project. I am making my project scrappy with just scraps that I have left over from some projects. So, you know, figure it out. Maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to use some fabric that you have, or maybe you want to purchase some. Either way, I think we will be fine. To get my bias strips, this is kind of a fun ruler to have. It is a yard ruler, and it has the 45 line down here. So I'm just going to put the 45-degree line in this bottom left-hand corner, and I'm going to cut all the way across. I'm going to do that 2.5 inches wide. Because my fabric is a square, it can go pretty much corner to corner, and you know that you're on that 45. All right, so I need a 2.5 inch strip, and I know that this ruler is 2.5 inches. So if I cut on the other side of this, I know I've got a 2.5 inch strip. So there's our first strip, super long, much longer than we need. I'm going to do the same thing to this side, and I'm going to just cut 4 strips of bias strips. So now you'll see that we have all of our strips out, but these angles are not the exact same as this angle over here. Not a problem. I'm just going to take a smaller ruler so that it's easier to manage. I've got this tip right here at the 0 mark, and I'm going to mark on the fabric with a friction pin 12 3/4. We're just going to mark right here. Okay, and then from there I am going to put this 45-degree. I've got a 45-degree marking on this ruler too, right here. This is another 2.5 inch ruler, and I am going to slide this 45-degree up and back until I have this corner right here touching the side of this ruler. And this is what I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut from there, and then it's going to drop off. This little area where it drops off is 15 1/4, and so I know it's correct. And we're just going to take this cut. And now that strip is complete. So I'm going to set that to the side and do the same thing with the other 3. So I have all of my pieces cut out, and I used SF101 Pellon. I used the double-sided Bosal in, I think it's called NR Form Plus, and I just cut out everything according to the directions. You're going to need to buy the kit, which is the pattern and the silicones for this. So let me walk you through it. The first thing I'm going to do is fuse these foam pieces to either side of the circles. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to do a coaster all one color, but knowing me, probably not. So I'll probably mix them up a little bit. But we're going to fuse the foam to our fabric sandwich. just to show you how easy this is. And some of the foam might have some wrinkles in it, but we're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to place this and line it up. And then we're going to put this on the outside there. And I'm going to use just a pressing sheet just in case I didn't make my circles perfect, which I didn't for sure. And I'm just going to hold it on there for 15 seconds. And then I'm going to move it to the other half and I'm going to hold it for 15 seconds again. Then the trick to fusibles and whatnot is to leave them alone and just let them rest. Let it cool off. And once it does, it'll be stuck on nice and good. So the heat does not go all the way down to the other side. I want you guys to see I am not a perfect circle cutter, maker, anything like that. You guys can see that. We always strive for perfection in the quilting world, but I want you guys to see that these are not perfect circles. You can, of course, use your Cricut to cut out this fabric if you want. I almost did that because, again, we strive for perfection, but it's not going to be that serious. This will turn out just fine. So I'm flipping it over and doing the same thing, 15 seconds on each side of the one side, if that makes sense. So the iron is halfway on and halfway off right now. We're doing 15 seconds on this side, then we'll do 15 seconds on the other side. So now we have our binding strips. We have 4 of them. We are going to take them and we are going to put them right sides together like this. So just fold it in half like this, but you're going to bring this edge up like that. So all you're going to do is fold it in half and you're like, how does that work? You bring this side up over here and you're going to leave a little tip that's about 1/4 of an inch long. There we go. On either side. And then we're just going to sew down really quickly. Do that to all 4 of your strips. So for this, we are going to start and stop backing up a little bit just to lock that stitch in place. Because there's going to be some pressure on this guy. And we're going to do the same thing when we back stitch, when we finish, I should say. There we go. And it should look like this. Now we have these little dog ears that are left over. We're just going to cut those off so that it's nice and clean. Do that for all of your strips. Again, you're just going to cut this off. And then we're going to press these seams open. Now we are pressing the seams open. So I'm just opening them with my finger. And we're going to give it a little press here. Perfect. Do that to all 4. Next step is going to be to fold these wrong sides together, just like this, and we are going to press. I'm just going to throw a wonder clip on there and just go around and make sure. I'm not going to press this with the wonder clip in there, but I just want to be sure that it is all together. I'm going to pop those out and I'm going to hit it with my iron. I will refine it once it is set. There we go. And now I'll go in and just kind of give it some encouragement. But you want your cuffs to be folded in half with the raw edges together and the wrong sides together. So there is a template A that comes in the back of your pattern booklet, and I'm just going to line this up the best I can in the center, and I'm going to assume that that's close. It looks pretty even. And I'm going to mark on the coaster the 4 halfway points. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom of this. So I can see here that these are the ends because I pressed it this way. But we're just going to meet those up in the center and mark the outsides of this too. We are going to take a silicone filler, and I'm going to make this the right side up. And I'm just going to put 4 wonder clips on those marks to easily identify them. Next, we are going to take we'll take another 4 wonder clips and raw edges together. We're going to match those up. And we're going to add 1 more clip here for good measure in between them. So match up all your markings. All right, so now we are going to go to our sewing machine, and we're going to be sure that we have a new needle in, nice and sharp. And we are going to sew a scant 1/4 inch seam around. As usual, we are going to start and stop with the back stitch. So after you finish stitching, it should look like this. It looks pretty good. And I'm just going to make sure that this is all straight here. And then we're just going to roll it back. And you're just going to smooth it a little bit. It looks nice. It looks pretty. Now we have to sew this to the back, or you can do like me and a little glue. I use permanent glue by Fabric Fuse. I use it all the time on bindings, all kinds of stuff. I cheat all the time. And it does well. It's permanent. It really does give you a very nice hold. I know some people would freak out about that, but it's quick, it's fast. And I just put a little dab of glue and then spread it out with my little silicone brush here and hold it down, and then it'll be all done. Now we are all finished. I've got this glued down back here. Okay, so coasters are done. Now let's make the holder. Next step. Grab one of your circles. This right here, I just cut the same color because I have the fabric. But we are going to put the foam on the wrong side of that bottom. And then we're going to take the stabilizer and put it on this side, and we're going to press that sandwich all together. Now we're going to flip it and press this onto that. So now that we have the fabric on one side and the woven on the other, we're just going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam just for placement purposes, right? We just want to know where the line is. So let's go on ahead and do that now. So again, this was just to see this line. I didn't sew anything to anything. I'm not basting or anything like that. That was simply just to see where this line is. And now I'm going to take some clips and we're just going to clip a little bit here. We are clipping up to the line, not through it. And I'm using some Kai scissors here that are super sharp. We're not cutting through the stitching line, just up to it, which is going to allow this to curve. And I'm doing this, I don't know, about every 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch. Just giving it some space to breathe and move around the curve. Now that I've made this some fringe, all that's cut, you can't really see it, but I guarantee it is. I'm going to put this right sides together and I'm going to sew down this short end really quickly. Just a 1/4 inch seam, and I am going to back stitch for sure at the front and the back. Now that I've done that, I'm just going to trim away this foam here and get that out of this seam. I'm just cutting some of that away because it's just creating a lot of bulk in that seam. Okay. And now I'm going to attempt to press this seam open. There we go. So these have been pressed open, and now we are going to do like we did before, and we are going to mark these 4 corners so that we know how to line it up with our base. Gonna match that there and give it a nice crease and just mark that. And mark this right here. I'm going to grab that template A and mark the 4 corners on this. Okay. Now we're going to line them up. Same way we did before, and stitch on the inside of that seam that we've sewn. You can see it's a nice little mark there, just on the inside of it. And I've got these right sides together. I'm filling in the areas, just going ahead and push up against that seam and it will curve. Don't be scared of it. Just push it up against there and grab some Wonder Clips. You can use pins here if you'd like. Up to you. I just happen to have all these Wonder Clips right now. So before I had my guide at a scant quarter, I have this at a full quarter now, just to be sure that I get a nice bite and to be sure that I'm sewing to the left of this line here. All finished, and this is what it should look like. And now we are going to trim half of this away through all the layers. Just get that bulk out of there. All that's trimmed away. This is what's left. Just a little bit. I can trim off a little bit more right here. That looks good. Yeah. Just giving it a little haircut. That looks good. Looks good to me. All right, so now we have another bottom piece and some fusible, and this needs to be fused to that. And here we are, another strip, and this needs to be fused to this. Let's do that now. Now that we have this strip fused, we are going to do the same thing, and we are just going to stitch. But instead of doing a 1/4 inch stitch, we're going to do 3/8, which is just a little bit larger. Another tip for you, if you want to know where 3/8 is, I can see where my 1/4 is right here. So I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3 over. I'm going to drop my needle right there on the 3/8 mark on my ruler. And then I'm just going to move my guide to touch that, and that way I know I have 3/8. Just a trick. And I'm just going to sew down. Just to show you guys again, this is where the 1/4 inch mark is right there, and the 3/8 is going to be just a little bit larger. So if we move that over to the next one, now we're on 3/8. So for this seam right here, they want us to start wide and get more narrow. So I'm just gonna, they want us to sew a scant 3/8 at the top. So I'm just gonna put between a 1/4 and 3/8 and mark it there, and then come down here to a full 3/8 and mark this here, and then just connect the lines. We're going to put right sides together, and then I'm going to sew on the line, making sure to back stitch at both sections. Just for funsies, I'm going to trim some of this away and press these seams open, and then mark the 4 and then the 4 on here the same way we did before, and then sew it together. But this time I'm going to use a 3/8 inch seam allowance, not a 1/4 inch. So this looks pretty good. This is what it should look like. Then we're going to trim away to about 1/8 of an inch, just like we did before. Going all the way around, trying to leave about 1/8. Okay, we are almost done. We are going to turn this guy. There we go. And give it a little zhuzh. Now I'm going to take this, and this seam is on this side, and this seam is on the left-hand side, and I'm just going to place this guy inside here, And again, just zhuzh a little bit. Let's smooth it out. Let's get it to play nice with each other. Now we're going to start pinning or clipping this all the way around. We'll do the 4 corners and then we'll do just like we did before. And then we'll smooth it out in between. Now that I've got this guy inside this other guy, I'm going to go around the top and just with a scant quarter, just give it a little sew. So I've elongated my stitch length to about a 6, and I'm just going to baste this to the inside. There we go. No need to backstitch or anything. We're just going to take a couple of really big stitches. That basted beautifully into place. Okay, so now that's done. Now we just have to bind this edge and then we are done. Let's do it. So in the back, they give you a template for a 45-degree angle. And so I'm just going to cut this template out as opposed to tracing it. I made a copy on my copier and I'm just cutting it out for our next step. It's just going to make it easier. So to make this easy, I'm just going to take this and put it so that I can read it. Actually, there we go. And I'm going to cut away. And we're just going to make a nice trim here. And then we are going to do the same thing that we did earlier. And we are going to put this here so that it's the same angle. And there we are. And that was easy peasy. Now, just like we did before, we are going to make these match, overlap them by a quarter, and sew right down the side. Cut off those dog ears and go ahead and press this open. And just like we did before, we rolled that in half, wrong sides together, and I've marked all the points. And now I'm going to sew this to the top and roll it to the inside, and then hand stitch it on the inside, or, you know, glue it. So I just stuck that right in there and it's nice and smooth, and I am going to sew this with a generous 1/4 of an inch seam because I want to be sure that I'm not getting any of that black stitching showing on the outside. Okay. So that was fast and easy and very generous. I mean, I really took a chunk out of that. That is a generous 1/4 inch. And now I'm just going to pull it up, 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 all the way around. And then it will roll to the front. And we can stitch that in place. You could stitch in the ditch. You can do whatever your heart desires. You can glue it. Do what you want to do. I think I'm actually going to stitch in the ditch on this one to finish it, I think. Not sure, but I'll let you know in a second. So I went ahead and stitched in the ditch. It looks really good. If you go left, you want to be sure if you're going to hit the fabric, you're going to hit it here because I use black thread, but it looks really good. And now we can put our cute coasters in there. And that's a cute little gift. Put a little bow on it, put it in a little box. I like it. Shout out to Five Little Monkeys who chose me to be one of their favorite people, which is just amazing. I hope you guys enjoy this project. It's super duper cute. I love it. Let me know. All right, I'll catch you guys all on the next one. Bye-bye.